Hi everyone, Tom here at NovaCode. My contract's coming to an end and I have presented our application to management today. They really liked what they saw and they're going to be taking it over in-house now. So this is purely out of my hands. So there's a few things that haven't been quite completed just yet, but somebody else is going to be working on them, so I'm not quite worried about it, but it's been giving them a great start for this application. So let's log in as an administrator first and show you the admin functions. And I want you to notice that I don't have any ups or downs information here. And that's because I actually don't belong to any groups. And because I don't belong to any groups, I don't have any goals assigned to me. And therefore, I don't have any fields that populate what my goals are. And likewise, because I don't have a group, I don't have feedback from other users to look at, nor do I have feedback of my own. So if I come into the admin tab, let's take a look here. Let's just add a test user. So we're going to add Banks, and we will do WB S at hd.com, and we will make them a contributor. Give them a password, and now we get this awesome success login. We click OK there, and let's just do a test user. And same thing. So now we have these two users in our database, and a quick way to know is that in the Remove Users tab, we can see that I have both test and I have Wells. And if I remove these users, I can see that now they are not in my database, and we should be able to know that pretty quickly. I haven't reloaded this, nor did I splice that off as a array by the looks of it. Yep, there it is. So you can see that whenever I made a second database call, my users are no longer here. And we can validate that by refreshing our database, and we see that both Wells and tests have gone. So if I go over to the Groups tab, I can start assigning people to groups. So I've already pre-created some groups. I went ahead and I added all of these, but if I wanted to add a new user to the group, let me see here. Don't think I have one for Matt, do I? Okay, this is actually a good thing. So let's go ahead and add Wells back to the database real quick. And let's also make a test manager. And we're going to make them a manager, and there we go. So now we've created two additional users, and let's make we've already seen that we have a group for Juanita, but let's make a group for Matt. So we're going to go ahead and add our test manager to Matt's group, and we're also going to add Wells to the group. And I didn't create the test user, did I? That's okay. So we're going to save that to our database, and here we go. We now have a saved group for Matt. So just double check that. Let's go ahead, and we've now hit our database, and we see that everything is now there. So if I go back in and I decide that I'm going to go see Juanita and I want to take a look at her goals, I have these goals assigned to Juanita, so goal 2017, 1, 2, and 3. And if I go to Matt, let's do, here he has no goals assigned. So let's do Matt's goals. So we'll call this Matt 2017-1. And let's copy this. And let's add a couple more goals here. And let's do a fourth one. Just because Juanita has 3, and I want to show the difference between Matt and Juanita's users. So we're going to go ahead and save the goals, and again, we get the update from the database. Everything looks good. So now the only thing left to do is to go ahead and log in as a user within the group. So let's take a quick look at Juanita, and she has Dickerson and Neil deGrasse Tyson, and Matt has Wells Bank. Okay. So let's take a look at Dickerson. So let's go find Dickerson's email. And you'll notice that all of my passwords are salted and hashed here, so I do have very good security on this database. And let's log in as Dickerson. So you'll notice now that Dickerson has goal data assigned to him. He cannot see the admin tab because he's a regular user, and he doesn't have access to it. So if he was to try to access the admin tab itself, you'll see, oh, I got an error. You're not allowed to do that. Bad, bad, bad. So heading back to our original website, there we go. He has access to only the feedback. So now let's create, well, we also have form validation, and these are dynamically driven fields. So these are rendered based on the user's group, and we see that they all have validation, and so does the form submit button. So if I do NovaCode products, and we're going to do test goal 1, and then test 2, and test 3, and we're going to put ups at the end so we can distinguish that these are ups items. And then let's do the same thing here. And we'll do this as 1 and downs. And notice that our submit button has lit up and it is now available to our users. So with that being said, we can now submit our form. So if I want to make a change, I have time to redeem myself. I can hit cancel on the confirmation box and just write make change. And now whenever I hit OK, my changes are all captured and I only have to hit my database once. So we can validate that all of this is there by going to our feedback that has been submitted, and we see that we have items in our database. So everything looks good. It looks like Dickerson's stuff has made it to our database. And let's take a look at the review. So if I go into the review, Dickerson is apparently part of a group that already has a feedback item that exists. So Dickerson did not actually submit this. Somebody else submitted this. And we can validate that just by checking the user ID on these. So you see 58F7 where we have 58F9. So this was a whole other user. I'm not positive what user this is off the top of my head. This might be Delita or something like that. Maybe JP. I don't know. I must have tested this last night and made an entry. So here, what's nice about this is we can now go in and just like previously, we can make changes. And we can make downs change. And let's do this on one other field. Dickerson change. And we have access to change all this good stuff. And we have this cool little update button. And we see that everything's been processed and we're good to go. So if I exit and come back in, I've made another call to my database. And you can see my changes are in all these fields. And if I took a quick look by refreshing my data set, we see that the appropriate fields were changed as well. So if I want to delete a piece of feedback from my database, I can easily just click one of these buttons, but I'm not going to do that just yet. I want to show you something else real quick. So let's log in as a different user. Let's see, we had I think Delita was a user in our database. So if I remember right, let's just log in. Here we go. So Delita is a user and she is in the same group. She's in Juanita's group. So if I take a quick look, I can see that she can also see Dickerson's submissions. So everybody in the group is allowed to see one another's submissions. And this was a specification made to me by our management that they kind of wanted to have friendly collaboration between groups in order to help them drive towards their goals and basically be able to see what one another's doing and kind of talk to them and go, well, hey, how are you doing these things, and get some feedback from users who may be excelling in certain areas or with another group that's struggling, so that they can go tap those areas that are excelling and learn how to increase their output in their departments. Really cool idea. I liked it. It was pretty neat. So now that we've seen this, let's go ahead and let's log out and let's log in as Wells Bank. So I think it was test.com. Let's take a look here. Let's go back to our users down to the bottom of the list. And oops, I think we have a test manager. And wb@test.com. Yep. So we need to get rid of the S. And we can see that Wells now has Matt's goals. So these are different than Juanita's goals, because if you remember right, we had goal 2017-1 where this is Matt. This is the ones we specified for that particular director. And if I go into the review tab, I see that there's nothing created because initially Matt didn't have any goals, so there was no information. Now if I just quickly, let's just do product line and let's do Matt 1. I totally misspelled Matt. Don't fault me for that. So Matt 2, 3, and 4. And then we will do this as Matthew 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So now we created a new feedback submission. And if I go in, I can see the submission. And if I log out, and now we're going to log in as our test manager. So our test manager was testm@hd.com. We are going to see that the test manager can now only see Wells Bank and none of the other submissions that were submitted. So this is awesome. And there's no bleed over. Like if I delete something, it doesn't matter. It's not going to bleed into the other groups. So last, let's just log back into Deleta here real quick. Oops. And shoot over to the review tab, and let's get rid of this submission. So whenever I delete a submission, I get this pop-up modal, and it gives me all the information about the item that I deleted. So if I made a mistake, I have an opportunity to copy all of this code back, or all of these fields back, and make another submission entry with this exact information again. So that's kind of a neat way of doing it. And I only brought that up because I was concerned that if we needed to make multiple deletes, that it could be a little cumbersome for all the button clicks between confirm, delete, okay, confirm, delete, you know, and that to me just seemed like maybe not necessarily the best user experience. So I put that one by management. They seem to be happy with it. They said that it's not likely that things will accidentally get deleted since I didn't make this huge, but if they did, they had an opportunity to be able to recover it. So this is the application in a nutshell. It's been a lot of fun building this application, a very good learning experience, and considering that I only did this with, you know, a few hours here and there, and like maybe 3 big nights this week where I had to do a lot of coding to get everything into the formats and overhaul certain portions of our UI to accommodate all of these dynamic fields we've created. I have to say that I didn't spend a huge amount of time, and a lot of that has to do with the frameworks that I used, using Angular 2, and well, actually I started with Angular 2 and I upgraded to Angular 4. I have Webpack 2 or 2.23 that I'm using, and then I'm also using a bunch of other items like Express and Node and MongoDB. You saw that I'm using Compass. So all of these extra tools have made the development time very, very fast and efficient for me. If you have questions about this application or you have a project you'd like me to work on, please feel free to contact me at the email in the description below. Remember to like and subscribe to this channel. And until my next application, I will see you guys very, very soon. So I'm looking forward to the next project, and I hope you are too. Goodbye.